Hey everyone, it's Brad from Unwired View. Ta-da! This is me, my face. Usually you see my hands, so I just wanted to give you something different to look at. My hands get kind of boring. So, certainly you can still see my hands. Hello! But really what I want to show you today is the LG Optimus T. The Optimus T is on T-Mobile, just got released earlier today, so it's on shelves whenever you're ready to go get it. It's $30 after mail and rebate, and it has a 2-year contract involved. So still a great offering, especially when you compare it to the G2 and My Touch, some of the older brothers of the Optimus T. Now with the Optimus T, certainly it doesn't have all the nice specs as the G2 and the My Touch have, but it's still going to be a great offering if this is your first smartphone, or even if you've had other ones and you just don't need all the extra stuff that goes along with the state-of-the-art phones. So come along with me. I'm going to show you a few more things about the Optimus T and how my overall experience was with it. So let's do it. Let's start off by giving you the video tour of the outside of the Optimus T. You can tell there's not a whole lot to it. LG kept this pretty minimal. I guess they just didn't see the need to make it very busy, and I can definitely appreciate a good sleek design that's not very busy at all. So I really like how this handles. The comfort level is pretty high on this one. So there's certain phones that are just way too big or way too small, and it just ends up making for an awkward fit in the hand. With this one, it's really easy to have a good grip on it without feeling too awkward. So it works out great. Now with that said, it's not the largest phone. As you can tell, it's got a 3.2-inch touchscreen. This one's a capacitive screen with HVGA resolution. It's really not the nicest resolution on the planet. Certainly a lot of the images do look pixelated somewhat. So, but it still gets the job done. Now, looking at the buttons, we see down here at the bottom we've got the menu button, home, back, and search. So the usuals. Nothing too shocking there. Now the design of it is pretty neat. I do like on here how the buttons themselves are raised a little bit. Just keeping it so it's not completely flush with the phone. I do like having something physical to touch on in there. The middle buttons here have an interesting little design, so it's kind of got its own little club. It's just all by itself, doing its own thing, so whatever. On the bottom we have the micro USB charging port. That's becoming standard with every Android phone that I've seen so far, so again, nothing too surprising. What is a bit surprising is there's absolutely no buttons on the left hand side. So just a cool little chrome or silver bezel there. Now, it actually reminds me a lot of the Sony Ericsson Xperia X10, the way it's designed there. So, just kind of a little thing, nothing big. Just showing off the back here, 3.2 megapixel camera with the autofocus. So, nice. There's nothing really besides that, of course. On the right hand side of the phone, we have the volume button. Okay. Always an essential. But it is rather surprising that there's no camera button or anything like that. On the top, we have the screen lock and the 3.5mm jack for any standard headphone set. So always great to have those included in there. Let's dive into the phone itself. Just to give you a few other specs, I told you about the 3.2 megapixel camera. It has standard VGA resolution for the camcorder side of it, so you're definitely not going to be getting any sort of HD video quality on this, but certainly better than nothing for a $30 phone. Really, what more do you expect in terms of extra specs? That would certainly be a little too good to be true in my opinion. It also has 170 megabytes of internal storage space, but at least it comes with a 2 GB micro SD card, and it supports up to 32 gigs. So if you just happen to have one lying around, or you're planning on buying one, maybe you want to ask for one for the holidays, those are always great stocking stuffers. Go ahead and stick that in there and you're going to have plenty of space for your music, your movies, any sort of multimedia stuff. So moving on, looking at the user interface here, Again, LG didn't they didn't put a whole bunch of bells and whistles on it. They keep it very minimal, keep it very stock looking. So as you can see, we've got well, right now it's got 5 screens, but you can actually go into the settings and change that around. We have the phone icon, app tray, and messaging. So that's really nice. Again, minimal. Anything else that you would need in terms of shortcuts, it's easy enough to just stick them on the front screen or any of these side screens, throw in widgets, you know, whatever you got to do for Android. The Optimus T has a 600 MHz processor, so it's okay. Not super fast. It's not a Snapdragon, which is a 1 GHz processor by any means, but it's actually a pretty speedy device anyways. The only time I've ever seen any sort of sluggishness in it is, let's say I'm here in the web browser, certainly have a nice website pulled up here, is anytime I do the pinch to zoom, you just see a minor delay in the pinch to zoom itself, but really even then it's not that bad. So that's just being really picky. So, but in terms of general moving from one screen to another, for example, no problem moving back and forth. Pulling up the apps, going in here, yeah, super speedy. So the only time I could ever see it being any sort of sluggishness, besides that pinch to zoom, would be if you have a whole bunch of different apps open up at the same time. Then I could see it having a little bit more of a difficulty trying to get up and going. A couple features that stand out on the Optimus T. We have the app pack, which, if it looks awfully familiar, that's because it's supposed to. It looks an awful lot like the Google Market, just with a whole bunch of stuff that T-Mobile recommends. So it's nice, I guess. I don't really have any problems with having it here. I just don't see the point in duplicating it because, let's say you go in to the actual market itself, and you got apps, games, and what? T-Mobile. So, hey, that's kind of like an app pack in and of itself, right? That's what I thought. So, it seems like it's a bit redundant, but hey, you know, if they have extra things in the app pack that they don't have in the market, then I can definitely see a good reason to have it around. Other than that, when we go into the app tray, there's a few other things. One is the car home. So on here, oh, don't use while driving unless you're cautious. So in here, this is like its own little home button, or home screen, I'm sorry. So I actually saw this on some of the Galaxy S phones where they had a little car dock. So that way, when it's in the car, this is all you've got to deal with instead of trying to fumble around, going into app trays, dinking around with all that. You've just got the simple stuff that you need. Navigation, voice search, contacts, music, phone. Yeah, you know, all the basics. So I really like this. I think we're going to start seeing this in more and more phones, especially as the car laws using the phone while you're in the car gets more and more strict. Beyond that, in terms of extra stuff that you'll find on here, Diner Dash, Doodle Jump. We also have FM radio. Always nice to see in a phone. I love having FM radio on there. Pac-Man demo. Ooh. Cool, I guess. Telenav Navigator. Think Free Office, which will be nice for creating and editing docs, viewing attachments, things like that. Visual voicemail is nice to have on here, and a voice dialer for all of your voice commands. So most of everything else is just pretty much standard, but it's interesting to see what they add in. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of having demos, but you know, it's a good way for them to make money, I guess. So that does it for the Optimus T. I definitely encourage you to check it out at your local T-Mobile store. It's available right now for $30 with contract, after mail and rebate. As far as my overall feelings about it, Certainly I showed you a few things in the video, but I encourage you to go to unwiredview.com and check out my full review. I'm going to go into a lot more detail there. Overall, I definitely recommend getting the Optimus T. The Optimus T is just a great Android offering that doesn't necessarily have all the bells and whistles, so that way they're able to offer it for the lowest price possible. So I recommend it if you're looking at getting a smartphone for the first time, or if you're on a budget, or if you just simply don't need all the extra stuff. Certainly there's a lot of extra stuff that you can get on the G2, on the MyTouch 4G. Those are the ones that you're going to want to consider if you need better cameras, or HD video, or a faster processor. But for what this Optimus T is capable of doing, it's a very solid phone. It doesn't feel like it's going to break apart if you just hold it in your hand, or even if you drop it a couple times. Certainly don't drop it, because anything could happen. But with that said, with the solid feeling that I get with this, it feels like it's going to last. And that's another great thing about it. So again, check out my review at unwiredview.com, and we look forward to seeing you there. We'll see you again soon.